Welcome to From the Shed End podcast. Myself, T Dot, and Theo. So first and foremost, how you doing, Theo?
I'm all good. Very good, actually, after starting the season with a trophy. It's a good feeling. So I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, and it was a brilliant game for the for us to kick the season off with. Obviously, we spoke about the preview of the game before in our previous episode. But what was your thoughts on the game that the bits that you got to see?
I mean, I was actually during the game, right before the penalty shootout, I was thinking back at our predictions and I was thinking, damn, we were quite far off actually, because we were very confident that we'd actually breeze through it. But we made things difficult, I think. I think 1-1 probably reflects, the both teams in a way, because I thought the first half we dominated. We were very good. We weren't clinical enough, which is, same old really as last season. We were probably unlucky not just to be 1-0 up. Second half, I thought the preseason sloppiness and fatigue showed. It was more apparent, particularly for the Villarreal goal. Rudiger's poor clearance led to the goal, and then they scored. And there's also a few times where they should have maybe even scored more than the Moreno goal. I'm thinking about the poor Mendy clearance, maybe where he slipped, and then he redeemed himself really well, actually getting a finger to it and pushing it to the post. But overall, I thought the second half was a bit worrying. And then extra time, I thought both teams were just knackered at that point, and maybe we're trying to play it out for a draw, maybe, and hopefully get the penalty shootout. But there was some promising signs, but also some still some preseason sloppiness signs that were apparent as well.
Yeah. It was. I mean, we started really well. I thought Tuchel got the lineup spot on. It was what you predicted. It was the same lineup as the Spurs game, and we started really well. I was impressed. I do think there was moments where we did dip, and I think that's just down to fatigue and obviously still in that preseason mentality. But Villarreal made it very difficult for us. It wasn't a comfortable half to watch, and I think one of the things that stood out for me was there was times where we've watched Chelsea before and we haven't killed games off, and we had opportunities to do that on numerous occasions. We had perfect opportunities to kill the game off, and as the game went on and we got into extra time, you do start suddenly thinking about all those opportunities that we did have and we didn't take them. Like you mentioned as well, Villarreal were just as unlucky not to get to score more than one as well, because they had, I think it was Moreno who hit the crossbar, didn't he? So
right before half time.
Yeah. So I think those kind of things, they go for us, but it could easily have been, a 2-1 to Villarreal. It could have been 2-1 to Chelsea. It was a good game, but the penalties were a bit nerve wracking to watch as always. I know we mentioned while we were talking on WhatsApp, but it was just brilliant bit of tactical awareness from Tuchel. Obviously, bringing on Kepa for Mendy, which again was a fine margin. It could have gone one or two ways. Had he not saved any of those penalties, I'm sure there would have been talk of his name on social media. But we have to give Kepa a lot of respect. He seems to have developed as a player, as a man, since his time. Obviously, the issue with the cup final. But what was your thoughts on the goalkeeping issue or situation?
I thought it made complete sense. I think we've spoken about it in the games running up to the Champions League final, where we thought if there is a potential penalty shootout, who would we put in goal? And I've always been in favour of having Kepa. Back in the day, it would have been Caballero. But I'm just thinking, when I looked at Mendy in his very first game for Chelsea, which led to a penalty shootout against Spurs in the League Cup, I just remember him being very kind of rooted to a spot in the middle of the goal. And I'm not being critical of Mendy because he's a fantastic keeper, but I think Kepa is a better penalty saver in a shootout. And when I watch Mendy, he just seemed very rooted to his spot, whereas Kepa's more decisive in the way that when he picks a side and he'll dive towards that side right into the corner. And I'm thinking a lot, that penalty shootout against Frankfurt, the penalty save away to Valencia, which was superb because it was, higher than the ground. He made a brilliant dive I was at the Mestalla for that game, and I was just shocked. That's probably one of the best penalty saves I've seen, live in the stadium. And as you said, fair play to Kepa, massive respect to him. He's kind of, in the last years or last 6 months since Tuchel's taken charge, he's really kind of kept his head up and every game he's played, he's kind of taken that chance to impress. And particularly that kind of long statement or that message to the fans he put up recently, I thought it was very brave of him, admitting that his confidence was shattered and that season with Lampard, and he did feel like he hit a rock bottom in a way. However, he also wants to kind of take every chance he has. He wants to play for the fans, and I play goalkeeper for myself, my 5-a-side team. I've played a couple 11-a-side games as a keeper, and I know how difficult it is. You can make an amazing save, but you can also have one big, mistake, and you'll be remembered for that mistake. But so every time a goalkeeper does make a mistake, I always have a lot of sympathy for them. But it was fantastic to see, honestly, because I really like seeing Kepa with a smile on his face. I know that 2020 and 2021 have been the years of kind of really understanding people's mental health as well and mental well-being, and I think that's even more important now, that you want to be, players, they're human beings at the end of the day, and you want them to be happy. And if you can play a part this season, as we spoke about in the previous episode, with all the League Cup games we might have, the Club World Cup games, Mendy going to the African Cup of Nations in January, I think this could be a fantastic season, maybe to get into the Spain squad for the upcoming World Cup in Qatar.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's I think that part about Mendy not being there, which I still keep mentioning, is like it's a pivotal moment, it's an important part of the season, just after that Christmas period of those congested fixtures. And I think, obviously we've got Bentonelli in as well, but Kepa I believe will probably be the replacement for Mendy while he's away. But it'll be interesting. I agree with everything you just said around Kepa. I feel like he's obviously matured. He's obviously understood what he needs to do in terms of his development as a goalkeeper as well. Whether that's something that Tuchel's introduced whilst he's come in as well. But you do have that confidence in him when you see him in between the sticks now. Whereas previously we've watched him and he's looked very hesitant, or like you say, people remember the mistakes. So I could name 3 or 4, but as he's got on, you're seeing less of that. When he comes on, the confidence is there. No one was. I mean, I did sort of think, oh God, Kepa in the Super Cup, but then you do have to remember why he's bringing him on. He's not bringing him on for an injury. It's because of the fact he's a brilliant penalty stopper. He's able to do that. But disappointed to see Hakim Ziyech, which I'm still not sure as to what the injury was. He didn't really fall awkwardly. It seemed like it was an injury that he sustained whilst sort of challenging in the air. There wasn't really much contact as well. So I'm not really sure if it's the wrist or the shoulder or just a part of the arm, but always seems to happen when he finds that bit of form. He finds that bit of form and he's doing really well, and then he gets injured. So disappointing to see him come off. But I don't think they've mentioned as to how long the injury is going to keep him out for.
Yeah, it's disappointing. I just remember our last preseason game of last summer when we played Brighton. He put a fantastic ball in for Werner to score, and then I think he got injured minutes later and had to come off and miss the start of the season, which kind of put a spanner in the works to the development for the next 2 or 3 months. And I think he only came in maybe around October time, but yeah, it's disappointing because I think he was probably one of the stars of our preseason, and he would have definitely started against Palace on Saturday. But that's why we're just grateful to have such a good squad of offensive players, and I hope he does recover well and he'll be back soon. And same as you, I didn't really see where he went wrong with his shoulder or his wrist or his arm, but we saw him sitting in a dugout with a cast at the end. So fingers crossed, and we wish him a speedy recovery.
Yeah, definitely. Another player who we're hoping to see very soon, although he's been ruled out of tomorrow's game at Crystal Palace, is 97.5 million striker Romelu Lukaku. Big smiles on our face if you're not watching on the YouTube. You listen on Spotify, Apple Music. Yeah, we've got our number 9 that we've been hoping to get in, been confirmed. I don't really need to ask your thoughts, but what are your thoughts on Lukaku coming back to the Bridge?
I'm buzzing. I've always been a fan of Lukaku's, and I think with the fact we got it done before Saturday is brilliant as well, because I think we'll get him out maybe at half time or even before kickoff. And I'll be there at Stamford Bridge on Saturday. I'm going to give him a really warm welcome. And I think he's a fantastic player. I think he's got 13 Champions League goals in total. I've got a few stats here. He's the 20th all-time Premier League top goal scorer, which when you kind of consider that, he's played at West Brom for 1 season, I think 2 or 3 years at Everton, 2 years at Man U. It's a fantastic achievement. And I'm sure now that he's at Chelsea, he'll just go up, higher up that list and maybe break into the top 10 eventually. He's got
Yeah,
one season at Man U when he first signed. People were saying that he was very poor. His first touch was appalling, but he still had 28 goals in all competitions in the 2017-2018 season. So I think that's a really good number. And then he's obviously got 64 goals with Belgium in 98 appearances, which is brilliant as
it's
well.
brilliant. Yeah,
Yeah, and then last season, which is probably his most recent numbers, he had 30 goals in all competitions under Antonio Conte at Inter Milan. So we're getting a goal scorer we need to get 20 goals a season, which we've been looking for so long, probably since Diego Costa's left. So I think he's the perfect replacement. And I think with Inter Milan, he was playing with Lautaro Martinez as the front two. And if somehow we can get, Werner to, have that Martinez role and, take players out of the game and then play into the Lukaku, then that he can maybe excel, with a front two. Or with Belgium, I think he plays in a front three, maybe with an Eden Hazard or a Mertens. I'm not too sure what the exact
yeah, he does.
front
Yeah,
three are. But maybe Tuchel will look at those two formations that he's played with at Belgium and with Inter Milan and consider how he can, because we spoke about this in the previous episode, how maybe, Tuchel might tweak his lineup or, change that front three to maybe adapt for Lukaku. But I think it's the fantastic signing. He's mature now. He's 28, which is probably, the best age you want to be signing a player because, they're mature. You'll probably be getting the best years of their career right now. And I'm just almost too disappointed that he probably won't play on Saturday because that's how excited I am to watch him play.
yeah. I think it's been confirmed literally an hour or so ago that he won't be playing tomorrow. But the good news is we have Arsenal next. I think that's next Sunday. I think so. Or, yeah, I think it might be next Sunday. But we've got Arsenal, which I'm sure he's going to be relishing the opportunity to come back in and score. But I agree. I think I've said it before on here. I don't think Haaland was ever really a realistic opportunity to get him in this season after Sancho leaving Dortmund as well. We know what Lukaku can do in the Premiership, and a lot of people, including myself at times when he was at United, I can hold my hands up. The meme of the Timberland boots on Lukaku, that kind of thing that was always going around about his first touch and things like that. But I think as he's got older, we've seen that progression. We've seen the transition in him. The fact that he's, when he first came to Chelsea, you look at the strikers that were ahead of him at the time. He was never really going to get a realistic opportunity to play, for Chelsea. He done really well at West Brom and Everton. And again, United as well. He knows where the back of the net is, and that's one of the things that we've really missed last season, was having someone who can do that constantly throughout the season as well. I mentioned as well, Jorginho being our top goal scorer last season, he just screams at you that we needed a number 9. The fee, a lot of people have mentioned the fee, the fact that it's 97.5 million. I think it's just, this is the current climate that we're in. For that type of player, for me personally, I think that's a very good bit of business. You look at the players that we've offloaded as well to accommodate this, and I know we mentioned that as well, but to bring someone in of that caliber and to be playing in a system that kind of actually suits Lukaku. You mentioned Werner. He likes to spread the defense. He likes to make that space as well, and I think he will do that. Lukaku will be licking his lips for that kind of opportunity to be in the box to score. So I think personally it's a brilliant signing. He looks very ripped. He looks fit. He looks ready to go. I remember the Lukaku of, I suppose, United, and he did seem a bit overweight, carrying a bit more, weight than he needed to. And I think he's obviously gone to Inter Milan. He's done really well there. So I'm looking forward to obviously seeing him back. He supports the club. So it means a lot to him as well. There was always that kind of thing that he had unfinished business at Chelsea anyway. It was never really given the opportunity. So I think it's a brilliant buy. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a great athlete as well. You mentioned about, how he looked maybe slightly overweight at United. I was reading this morning on the Fifth Stand app that when he was at Inter Milan, he lost, I think, about a stone or half a stone in 12 days. So he looks after himself. He knows, if he wants to make changes to his body, he can make them. And I was just trying to think as well. I can't think of a single Premier League centre-back or defender or even player maybe that's got the same physique as him in terms of, the same strength and physical ability. Maybe Van Dijk possibly, but that's the only one I can think of. And we saw him at the Euros just bullying past those the Russian defenders at times when he played against Russia, and he was exactly what we need in the Premier League. A player who can just get past defenders, almost a bit like Diego Costa, a bully, a bully number 9. So I'm really looking forward to watching him, and I think I really fingers crossed that this will be our next striker for at least the next 5 years, and we won't make any changes or need to bring anyone else in.
Yeah, just want to mention as well, because before we came on recording, and I don't know if you're aware, but I think Besiktas are looking at trying to get Michy Batshuayi on loan or on a permanent as well. So I know I mentioned it last week around the sort of lightness of strikers, but I think we should really retain Batshuayi. I think he's an option. We've got, like I've said before, congested fixture list this season. What's your thoughts if he does go Batshuayi to Besiktas?
I mean, if he does go, that just leaves us with Werner, Havertz, and Lukaku as those players that can play the number 9 role. And Werner and Havertz aren't really natural number 9s from what we saw last season. So I did mention this on the other episode. Every time we've had a title run, a good season, we've always had 3 strikers, whether it's been Eto'o, Torres, and Bar, whether it's been Remy, Drogba, and Costa. We've always had kind of 3 strikers that have rotated, and I think the third choice one knows that he'd only be there for maybe 1 or 2 seasons playing, second choice but yeah, it's a tricky one because you did mention we've got congested fixtures. We might need, a second natural number 9. Batshuayi has proved that he can do, a decent job when he's given the chance.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, if he does go to Besiktas on loan, I think his contract would expire next summer. So that would mean either we sell him permanently this summer, or either we extend his deal and we loan him, or either we keep him for another year and then maybe let him go for a free next summer. But it is a bit of a tricky one. And then obviously the Belgium connection between Lukaku and Batshuayi could be another factor. If they play well together or they have good chemistry off the pitch, then that could be another reason for wanting to keep him.
Yeah. We'll have to see. I mean, hopefully he stays. I'm all for having, players go out and develop themselves, or we move them on if we need to. But I do feel like he's still got a part to play here as well. But another person who I think's got a part to play this season, Trevor Chalobah. I think he's really got to cement himself in that squad. But give us your thoughts on the opening game of the season. Chelsea, Crystal Palace. You're going to be there in the flesh, smelling the Stamford Bridge turf. Give me your thoughts. What are you looking forward to?
I'm excited. I mean, obviously, I was at the Bridge last week for the friendly against Spurs. It feels weird saying the word friendly and Spurs in the same sentence, but it was. And I celebrated the 2 Hakim Ziyech goals. Then when Spurs scored the 2 in the second half, you're frustrated, but it's a friendly at the end of the day. But actually going to a competitive game now at Stamford Bridge and, actually really cheering for those goals and wanting the 3 points is what I'm really looking forward to. I went to the FA Cup final last season when fans were slowly allowed back into the ground. But this is my first, competitive game at Stamford Bridge since the 4-0 win against Everton on the 8th of March, 2020. So it's been a long time coming, and I'm really looking forward to it. Just, the match day routine as well, waking up, getting all the, watching the 12:30 kickoff, and then getting excited for your 3 p.m. kickoff, and, the 5-10 minute walk to Stamford Bridge from my house with all the fans. I'm really looking forward to it. And, it's been such a long time, and now to have that embedded in my weekend routine again is something I'm really relishing and looking forward to.
Yeah, and just in terms of obviously, because I did my predicted lineup earlier this morning, I had a bit of about 10-15 minutes of doing nothing, so I thought let me just. I've gone for probably the obvious, I suppose. I've gone for the 3 central centre backs in Chalobah. I've gone for Rudiger and Azpilicueta as a centre back. Reece James.
Chalobah starting then for you?
Yeah. I think he deserves to. I think he has to. I think he's played really well pre-season. Played really well Super Cup as well. It'd be a shame to drop him. And you look at Christensen, who potentially might. I think will start. To be fair, I don't know about Thiago Silva because I don't think he's played much competitive football.
He didn't feature at all in pre-season
yet, did he? So I would assume he'll be a bit player. He'll come on maybe for the cup games now, or if we have an injury, or to mix things up at the back. But I think for the opening game, I wouldn't start Thiago Silva. I would put Chalobah in there, but I do think Tuchel will maybe bench him, bring in Christensen. But the wing backs have gone for obviously Chilwell. I think Chilwell should be coming back in there, although Alonso has played well. I'd put Chilwell in there for against Palace as well. Reece James, obviously, right wing back. Kante, Jorginho, and the front three of Pulisic, Havertz, and Mount at the front.
Yeah.
No Werner.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's quite probably one of the hardest lineups we're gonna to predict. I think, based purely because we haven't really had a fixture before, and all the preseason ones have been players coming in and out of the team. I wouldn't be surprised even if Hudson-Odoi maybe starts at right wing back again. That's a possibility.
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised maybe if Kovacic starts, but then again, he played, I think, the 420 minutes against Villarreal. So there's a lot of things to consider. But I think the players that did come on from the Euro semi-finals and final, I think will probably that's an indication that Tuchel wants to start them Saturday to give them the half an hour, 40 minutes on Wednesday. So I think Mount, Jorginho, the players you mentioned, Christensen maybe as well. I think Alonso will start over Chilwell personally. I think he's, as you mentioned, he had a very good preseason. Unlucky not to score on Wednesday, and great ball to Havertz, who then played it on to Ziyech. But yeah, I think it's a difficult lineup to predict. But that's I kind of like in this dilemma because it shows we have so many suitable candidates for each position at the same time.
Yeah, and obviously it'd be interesting because I'm sure Mark Way might start for Palace as well, which will be interesting to see. I want to see obviously him get a lot of game time, albeit he's at a different club now. But it'd be interesting to see if he starts as well. Obviously knowing the Chelsea connection and being around the team, I'm sure Vieira will want to try and get him into the team. But yeah, I mean, we've said it before. We need 3 points opening game of the season. No one wants to start playing catch up after your first game. So, I think we'll do really well. I've been impressed throughout pre-season with how we've played. So I can't really. It's going to be difficult for Palace because I think that they've got a lot of players that they've brought in. They've got to hope that they hit the ground running and they can actually get free, perform well tomorrow. But I just think from what I've watched of us and how we've played, I can't really see us losing. But that's the bias in me. I think we need to get off to a good start.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Guehi. I think he's a fantastic acquisition for Crystal Palace, and the other centre back, which I think will start for them on Saturday, is Joachim Andersen. Who I think they got from Fulham. I think he was almost too good for times at Fulham. He was linked to Chelsea. He was linked to Spurs. I think he wanted to stay in the capital, and he's a very good player. I think good enough to play for maybe a top six or, maybe a team competing for Europa potentially. But I think he's a really good. If him and Guehi can, create a good partnership, I think Palace can easily, get top 5, top 10, not top 5, and. And one thing I'm still unsure about is their manager, Vieira. I know that he was quite poor maybe at Nice, but that's a different league, maybe a different situation. If he gets the players he wants now at Palace and, he's given maybe time, I think he could do a good job. But, similarly to you, I think based on how we've played in pre-season and the squad we have, I think it should go our way. I know that it's been quite hit and miss at times for us in opening days of the season. I'm still thinking of that, disaster against Burnley, I think 3 or 4 years ago. But I think if with this Tuchel mentality that he's cemented into the team, I think we've got to win and we will win.
Yeah, definitely. Are you going to give us a prediction, or is it too early to say?
I did make my prediction on the app yesterday, so I might as well just stick with the one I put on the app. I put 2-1 actually. I think we saw against Villarreal that there's still a bit of sloppiness, but at the same time, we do have goals in us. And I think if we go for the lineup we spoke about, with maybe a Havertz, a Pulisic, and a Mount, that's very offensive. And 2-1. I think Palace will get a goal, maybe similarly to what we saw, like some sloppy goal maybe, but they will score. And but just as long as we get the 3 points on the opening day, that's the most important. Do you have a prediction yourself, or?
Yeah, I think I've been thinking about it this morning whilst I was doing my lineup, and tossing between 2-1, which I think is possible. I think they will score. But then I look at how we were in the league last season defensively, and clean sheets was what Mendy was known for. So I'm thinking 2-0. I think I might go for 2-0. I think that's more likely. I think I agree with you though. We haven't looked the best defensively, but I think once the Premier League kicks off, everyone's got to be on their job, throughout the 90 minutes. So I'm going to go 2-0. I'm going to go 2-0. We've just mentioned Burnley. That was a difficult game. The other one that sticks out in my mind, to be fair, is the Old Trafford battering of 4-0. I think that was 2 years ago, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah,
2 seasons ago.
Lampard's first game, wasn't it?
Lampard's first game in charge. So, yeah, I mean, give me some of your historic opening day Chelsea fixtures.
I mean, let me get rid of the bad ones out. Let me erase the bad ones out of my memory first. But you mentioned the Burnley one. I was at Stamford Bridge that day. I think we went down to 9 men. Fabregas and Cahill getting sent off.
Yeah.
Cahill, and I think Bogo was starting that day, and then he had to come off because of the Cahill. Cahill red card, which was a shame for him because that could have been his breakthrough moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one's erased from my memory. The Old Trafford one as well. I think the Swansea 2-2 at home on the opening day was a bad memory as well, particularly because of the incidents that happened.
Gomez as well. Was it Gomez scored the penalty, I think?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think Courtois got sent off as well, I think, actually. But it was I think the day where Eva Canero ran on the pitch when Mourinho didn't allow her to, and it kind of all went downhill from there for our season. Yeah. So that's another bad memory. But let's talk about good ones now. I think I put an Instagram post of some good opening day memories. If you really want to go back, I think 2004 1-0 against Man U, Ida Good Johnson. That was a good one.
Yeah.
More recently, I just think that Monday Night Football against Burnley at Turf Moor.
Yeah.
I just thought, we went 1-0 down, but straight away we scored 3. I think all in the first half, maybe. I'm trying to think. And
possibly, yeah.
Yeah, I just think Ivanovic, Schürrle, and Costa. And it's just the way we played, and the attacking players we brought on, the likes of Schürrle, Hazard, we had Willian, we had Diego Costa, Fabregas in midfield. And I think from that day, we kind of saw what Mourinho was trying to create with that team. And it made us, really stick out as title contenders. And that Fabregas pass to Schürrle is just, I could literally watch it every day. I might have it as kind of my background or something. So when I open my laptop, I can rewatch it. But yeah, that's another good one. Brighton last season, simply for the Reece James rocket, was a good one. Yeah. I enjoyed that one. The 6-0 against West Brom in 2010, I think, when Drogba got a hat-trick at Stamford Bridge. Yeah, there's been some good ones. Hazard's debut at the DW Stadium against Wigan, I think, had a really good game. I think won as a penalty. Got a 2-0 win.
Crespo. Was it Crespo that year?
No, I think.
Sorry, you said Hazard, yeah.
Yeah, Wigan. I think Wigan 2012 and the Di Matteo. There was the Crespo one, I think, as well.
I think that was 2005, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah, 1-0, I think, was it? So
yeah, it was late penalty. I think it's almost ended the game.
Yeah, but yeah, I think. And the last one I'll mention is the home win against Hull. I still think to this day Drogba meant to cross it, but somehow it went in. And then in the last minute of the game. So those are some good memories. I'm sure you've got some good ones too.
Yeah, very similar to yours. I wrote a list down actually before, but you named pretty much most of them. Yeah, obviously the Burnley one was. I think I can't remember where I was that day, but I remember being at like a daytime party thing and not watching the game, but everyone just coming up to me and just saying, "Oh, I can't believe Chelsea," and I'm like, well, what's going on? And then watching the game. So yeah, I think it was Cahill, wasn't it, and Cesc Fabregas that was sent off during that game.
Yeah.
Nightmare game. Obviously the United one you mentioned, the 4-0 Lampard. That one was just, it was big game to lose. But Burnley, the 2-1, I'd got Burnley 2-1 2016. Eden Hazard, Diego Costa had scored in that game
West Ham.
as well.
West Ham.
West Ham. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Good. That was a really good game. Conte going crazy down the touchline when we scored. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really good game. You mentioned the Swansea game as well. I had that written down. The reason I remember that one is because of the the penalty, I think, as well, the decision for
Mhm.
the penalty. And then obviously Gomez as well. Which after that, I really hated him. I think this. I think for the celebration. I don't know if you remember the celebration where he
Yeah,
sort of got on his knees and crawled.
uh,
Yeah. So I hated him after that. I just never forgave him for that. 2012, I wrote down Wigan, 2-0 against Wigan. We had Ivanovic and Lampard scored as well. So then Portsmouth 2008, that was 4-0.
yeah,
That was a good
Deco
one.
scored a good one. Yeah,
Deco, yep, Deco. I'm trying to think who else. Joe
and now
Cole,
Joe Cole and Nelka, and I
Anelka.
think a Lampard penalty. Yeah,
Yeah, so that was a good one. And then that was it for me, really. You'd name the others, but
yeah,
um, we've not had the worst record. The fact I read not long ago, we've got a really good opening day record in the Premier League history. So I don't think those there's blips that we had against sort of Burnley, the United one. We can really read too much into them.
yeah,
I think we're good enough to get off, and we normally get off to a really good start in the league. So I'm confident for tomorrow. I'm confident for the season. I do think Premier League champions sounds right for Chelsea, doesn't it, at the moment?
yeah. And just what gives me a bit more confidence for tomorrow is we've got a good record against Palace in recent years. I think if you put
Yeah,
the last season we beat them 4-0 at home, 4-1 away, which probably are two most comfortable fixtures of the season when you kind of look at it. And I mean, I don't want to no disrespect to them because they've changed their team as well a lot this summer. So it might be
yeah,
a completely different team we're facing tomorrow. But does give me a bit of confidence. And as you said, we've got a very good opening day record. And I think if we want to be challenging for Premier League champions, it's always good to start off with the 3 points and a win to kind of, watch matches there on the first Saturday and watching your team, the highlights of your team winning is always a positive as well.
and like I said before, I think the likes of United, Man City, excuse me, Man City, Liverpool. They're going to start really well this season. So we don't want to be on the back foot at all. We want to be there or thereabouts with them or ahead of them. We don't want to be playing catch up at all. But I'm confident. I'm very, very confident for tomorrow.
Mm.
Obviously, you'll be there, so you can see it in the flesh. But
Yeah,
it'll be just as good to watch, I'm sure, from wherever I'll be watching it from. But yeah, it's here. It's finally here. It feels like we've been waiting a lifetime for it. Obviously, we had the Euros, but it just seems like the anticlimax is finally over. So you're going to go for 2-1
I'll stick
Chelsea.
with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go for 2-0. Obviously, we've got the review of the game, which we'll be doing early next week as well. We may have a Crystal Palace fan on, depending on how the game goes. But no, it's going to be a brilliant season. I'm looking forward to it now. I can't wait. Feels like Christmas. I'm ready for it now. So yeah, let's go and get the Premier League title.
Let's do it.
As always, guys, if you're not watching on the YouTube and you are watching on listening on Apple Music or Spotify, you can follow us on at the Shed End from on Twitter, and at the mess that up completely. I'll start again. At From the Shed End, and that's all underscores in between each word on Instagram as well. So give us a follow, and you can follow myself at This Is T Dot, and Theo. Can you just tell the listeners where they can find you as well?
Yeah, follow me at Seski Time on Twitter. I'll be posting some match day content and footage from tomorrow. So if you want to see that, give me a follow, and follow our Instagram as well. As T Dot said, From the Shed End with underscores between all the words.
Yeah. Okay. So this has been episode 18 of From the Shed End podcast. Myself, T Dot, and Theo. Thank you very much. We'll be back next week with hopefully 3 points sitting at the top of the table.